Good morning again and welcome to the AM show. This is the news review segment and we are live. Samuel Kojo Braised and I, Sweetie Abochi, are here to steer the conversations for you. In the studio with us this morning, Timothy Awontrim, former Member of Parliament for Busa North. Sir, good morning and welcome to the AM show. That's a lovely green you have on.
You're also looking lovely.
Oh, thank you.
The Green Army. The Green Army.
The Green Army?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. You've brought my mind back to something. Anyway, today is not a green day.
What day is it?
It's an AM show.
Yeah.
Good morning to you, my brother.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to our viewers out there. It's a beautiful Thursday, and I wish that the day goes well as His mercies will be showered upon us this morning.
Amen. You know how it is. Usually we'll give you some time to reflect on any topical issue. There's a lot happening in the country.
A lot.
I
think
energy, education, politics.
Energy.
Yeah.
And let me say once again, good morning to our viewers out there. One of the mind-boggling issue and an issue that I've been putting my head together and I cannot get the head and tail of it is the ECG problem. Absolutely unbelievable that you import goods worth 500,000 Ghana cedis. And the same goods, you leave them there for demurrage to cut them, and an individual buys them at 100,000 and resell it back to the institution. What are we doing to this country? And remember the PricewaterhouseCoopers did an audit on them and said they've been under-declaring revenue and so on. In billions, not in hundreds, in billions of Ghana cedis. Can you imagine a huge institution that any mismanagement that can collapse this country, because everything in this country is tied to energy, and even the cost of energy, and the fact that poor consumers continue to pay their bills. You buy your credit, and then within some few weeks or so, it's gone out. And yet those who collect these monies do under declaration. For what purpose would they do? And can you imagine how long it's been going on? That is why when issues of you want the private sector to participate, not completely take over, but to participate in the management of ECG, and especially our energy sector, there's always a hula baloo because workers think that they are going to be taken away. But you are employed to take care of the people of this country and to manage such an important resource to the best of the people of this country. And this is what goes out through leakages. It's unbelievable.
Ah, well. I'm
and
just
today
curious.
We are looking at, and ECG has the capacity to clear goods. Sometimes the problem is that these are government institutions, ECG, and then the ports. Can there be a collaboration? Can there be an issue that, look, I cannot clear my goods for now, but I've been doing business with you. You know my financial capability. Can I clear my goods, even into a warehouse? When I have my finances right, I can come and pay off. It means it's a well-rehearsed agenda by some people to make money out of this. So you had 300,000, and you could not pay for the cost of importation. You allow a private man to buy it at 100,000 Ghana cedis. Then you use the same $300,000 that you should have used part to clear the container and then pay for it. Which countries does that? It means they have the money.
Yes.
Because you turn around and pay for the container at $300,000.
Ah, well.
That means you could have cleared it. I don't believe that the cost of clearance would have been up to 300,000 Ghana cedis. $300,000. So these are the issues that have been bothering me. And you see, when these things happen, it makes the people lose confidence in state institutions and our ability to man our own institutions to the best of our knowledge. So sometimes you bring in foreign people to handle these institutions for purposes of recapitalization, and the people rise up against them and say, no, we are not supposed to have foreigners and so on. But look at what has happened to our own country.
Well,
and I think that's
now
about time the media plays. You've been playing your role anyway. Let me congratulate you for some of these exposés. In fact, if you look, especially your medium, you've been doing a lot of exposé. Even some issues that happen at the rural areas that we do not know, is the media that comes in. But we need to do more and support you in the issues of investigating state institutions. And this brings to mind why we must necessarily do a forensic audit on every institution under the sun in this government. We have to do so that we know the way we are moving forward and the amount of money that we've lost and so on.
Right.
Some of these institutions are rather milking us too much. Take them from ECG to water to even Ghana, the National Identification Authority. Take it to even the National Health Insurance. Take it to
National Service Secretariat.
National Service Secretariat. You can't believe it. You just cannot believe it. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The
I mean, you were a member of parliament, and you are here expressing all these stories,
Yes, but a
coming
member of
out.
parliament cannot
Imagine how we ordinary citizens feel about these stories, these exposés when they come out. I'm only saying that to make a point that at the point where you had the power, what did you do about it?
We did a lot, because when you look at the Auditor's General report, when we were leaving office, the total amount of malfeasance and financial malpractices was less than $1 billion. In fact, it was between 800 million. So we expected a government that took over the Akufo-Addo administration to continue to bring it down from 800 million that we left for you. When they were leaving office, the Auditor General report tells us that over 54 billion has not been accounted. 54 billion has not been accounted for. The first year they took over, it rose from 800 million to 12 billion. It came down the following year to 5 billion. Then it went up again. It continued cumulatively. I remember, I think as we talked this morning, Pebu and other lawyers have sent the case to court. And that was a time we're expecting the Auditor General to surcharge institutions and use the power of disallowance and so on. It never happened. When Domlovo, who was, for now, we may call him an anti-corruption guru, was fighting this, you saw what happened to him, including when he even went to pension, he went to the holy, what do you call it, the leave and care. He was told that he was a Togolese. Beyond the fact that he was a Togolese, even they changed his locks. So if a government is poised to fight corruption and under your regime, Auditor General report, you appointed the Auditor General himself after Domlovo. These are the reports, cutting across every, including the presidency. We cannot have a corruption-free society, but there must be measure, and people should be seen to be doing a lot of policy to ensure that corruption is reduced to the barest minimum.
Well, so for me, to learn for us. Let's get
for me, I think that, yes, we were in power before. We couldn't have fought corruption to a zero tolerance level, but the auditor's report showed that we did a lot more in terms of corruption, including the NACAP, the policy framework that we did with Shrag to ensure the investigation. You could see the investigation that went on. John Dramani Mohammed's home minister, and then were jailed and his chief executive and so on. These are issues we should not recall, but we should continue to inch higher. We should continue to ensure that corruption becomes a no-go area. We all want money, but when it is true, look, Ghanaians are prepared to give you some allowance of stealing, but when you go to what we are seeing today, they will not allow you.
Let's...
So, but you see, the ECG issue that he brought up is a critical one. And it doesn't mean that when we say private participation, it should necessarily be foreign-owned. It could be Ghanaian-owned, but there must, so it is a must, where we are now, there must be a private participation in ECG issues.
Especially when it comes to revenue collection.
Exactly. We cannot leave it to the same thing.
Collection.
Because you cannot do same things and demand different results. It doesn't happen. You need to change your strategy to then demand or expect a different result. From how things are being run by the state cannot continue to be the one running ECG. We should and must allow the private sector. Look, PDS, but for some of the preconditions that they didn't meet, we also, within the short time they came, the difference they brought to ECG. So let's try and get a private participation. That was Ghanaian-led, right? Let's get one like that, but ensure that they fulfill every precondition before we hand it over to them. And I think they'll bring a difference, because these containers that we hear were left there for the state to pay demurrage, and then it's auctioned, and we use the same hard currency to go and buy it again. It doesn't make sense. Even those of us running small bojo businesses, we can't run our businesses this way. How much more running a multi-million-dollar company like ECG? You cannot do that.
Under
I mean, those of us who are, look, if you see any small thing, a deviation from what you expect should happen in your business, you question all your managers. If it has to be sacked, you have to sack someone, you sack. How much more the state company? So look,
sometimes it's
there was
sad
even
to hear these.
I think 3 months, they lost so much million. You saw that issue. It came up at the Auditor General within 3 months. So much billion, not millions, so it's gone into private.
But you know, every year they report revenue losses and system losses, and nobody does anything. Oh, 2 billion is gone. 2 billion is gone. We've lost it.
That is the issue.
And that's it. Nobody does anything.
Yeah.
So really,
look at the
how
case
ECG is
involving the, I think, Global Fund that brought those antiretroviral drugs for HIV and what.
Left at the
we
ports.
left them at the ports. Why do we do that to ourselves? Look at the issue of the ambulances. They were locked at the port. Often what I say is that if there's a change of government, and which is necessary, look at the National Service scandal. If there hadn't been a change of government, the other government that would have taken over, probably the Dr. Bawumia's group, wouldn't have had the balls to be able to investigate its past. So when it's a new government, at least we're able to know the extent of rot. We're able to expose these. And when we expose them, then we'll look at the way forward. How on earth would Global Fund bring drugs to this country and then you allow them to gather demorate? There's something that I don't get, and I keep asking the question. Is there no collaboration between the state institutions? GPHA is a state institution, is that not it?
Yes.
ECG is a state institution. In fact, they even take light from ECG, is that not it? They supply them light.
Yeah.
How come they couldn't work out the mathematics and say, take your items, and later on we'll work out the mathematics? It's for the people of this country.
That's very true.
I can't believe it.
No, but look, but you see, when a group of people collude to deny the state what it deserves, this is what happens. Because it would have been simpler for the two entities to say, you are a service provider to me.
Yes.
I'm also a service provider to you.
Yes.
Okay, if you owe me, let's do better.
Yes.
Right? Because at the end of the day, the money is coming into one coffers, the Ghana bank account.
If they do that,
they
do that,
how will they? Exactly.
We like to be politically correct in this country. So just a second. It's something that we've accepted it. When you do it, you don't want to be exposed. But when someone is, on to you, then you feel triggered. Then you want to expose what the other person did wrong or didn't do right. So we're just always pointing accusing fingers at each other without actually dealing or tackling the problem head on. And we keep doing this over and over and over again. Sometimes it's almost as if you're watching a movie in this country. So imagine $500,000. We just threw it away. Anyway, make your point now.
Anyway.
Look, there's just this point I want to put to food for thought. Look, sometimes I cringe and I begin to ask, why would a government institution, for instance, GES or Minister of Education, buy state land from another institution? Do you understand? Can the mathematics be made? Where are they paying the money into? Do you get the point I'm making? Sometimes GES or Minister of Education wants land to put up a government project. That land is owned by Ministry of Health. Then GS will go and buy the land from Ministry of Health. I just can't believe what is happening. And I think that these are things that when we are moving forward, we should ensure that state institutions go by the principles of accountability and so on to ensure that there's judicious use of public resources, be they cash, be they otherwise. If not, at the end of the day, we'll come crying the same thing, looking at corruption over and over. And the people who benefit from it are Awal and myself here. Because we are the people who have gone to the university.
Well, since you mentioned him, let's introduce him into the conversation.
It is not our brothers in the village. It is not our mothers and sisters in the village. It is we those who have gone to school, even lawyers.
Awal Mohammed is former head of communications at Youth Employment Agency. He joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you.
I like your traditional outfit.
Thank you so much.
We're just, actually, we started with Mr. Wontrim's take for us this morning. We went through ECG, some of the issues plaguing this country. We want to get into the papers, but let's give you some time to also reflect on any topical issue on your mind.
Okay, thank you so much, and good morning to our cherished viewers. And I'm sorry for coming in late. I don't know if Mr. Atabodi has cast some spell on me. Anytime I'm meeting him, I come in late.
Then I'll have to go and tighten the spell very well.
So I think I still will be part of those who will, because, you know, I'm from an employment agency, and the directive by the Chief of Staff, I will still implore President Mahama to take a second look at that, looking at his promise to the people of this country, especially the youth of this country, on employment. So you came with a banner that you're doing 24-hour economy. I remember there was a commercial being played even on Joy here, that 3 shifts. Some will come in the morning, others will come in the afternoon, others will come at night. And I've heard some of the appointees saying that they will even start from their end. And now you're saying that we should, some people who are Ghanaians who pass through the process and they are employed, you're saying that these people should lose their job.
No, but that's the argument, though. Passing through the process. The argument they're making is that they didn't, in fact, pass through the process.
A lot of them pass through the process. If you have worked with the public service, you will know that there is no way someone can be appointed just within the month that we lost the elections.
But that's what they're saying, that it happened.
Okay, so you see...
Somebody didn't even apply, but it happened. Those are the irregularities that they're citing.
Let me give you a simple scenario. At Youth Employment Agency, we were billed to employ over 700 staff. We started the process somewhere in May, but we couldn't get the financial clearance for all of them. We only got financial clearance for 300. As at the time we lost the elections, we were chasing Abena Osei-Asare, the Deputy Minister for Finance, for the financial clearance for the 300 people. We were not given. So we couldn't employ the 300 people. I'm telling you this for a fact, from Youth Employment Agency. We couldn't employ the 300 extra, but we were able to really start the process around May, do everything and complete with, because we needed technical clearance from Public Services Commission, then financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance. We got the financial technical clearance. We did all the interviews for all of them. But unfortunately, we didn't get a financial clearance, so we couldn't even employ.
Right.
So I know that a lot of the agencies went through all the process. Look at GS, for instance. It's incongruous for you to tell me that at January, if someone is not on the payroll, then the person's appointment should be revoked. They were employed in August, and GES have to go through rigorous processes before they will have to validate their certificates. They will have to go and validate whether the person is where he has been posted. Then they will be given their IDs. That is what the controller will stand on to pay them. So some have even started receiving pay. Yesterday I was on Joy Prime. They interviewed one of them, and he says that he has only received 2 months. The rest of his colleagues who didn't even receive anything have been asked to go home.
I get what you're saying. It sounds like you're coming from a human interest side of the story.
Yes.
But I'm saying, if indeed what they're saying that there were so many irregularities and they couldn't find even one. We spoke to, what was it, Felix Kwachifosu, and he said they couldn't even find one person who went through the due processes. If that is the truth, what would you have them do? You mentioned that they came on the back of jobs and accountability and all that. If it's true that these people were employed through illegal means or there were some procedural breaches in there, wouldn't you let them clear those so that the people who are qualified, deserving, can go through the due processes?
Why the haste? Can't we wait until we finish all these things? I remember when we came in 2017, we sacked people from national services. About 500 people. We sacked them from national service because they did not go through the rigorous process through public services. They went to court. Edwige Tamakulu was their lawyer. They lost because we were right by sacking them.
So now I think some people are pursuing legal action. So if indeed they are right, then there's nothing to worry about, is there?
What I wanted is specifics of the institutions. For instance, if Felix Kwachifosu will be magnanimous enough to tell us that these institutions, people didn't go through the processes and they were employed. For instance, the nurses. Look at the pushback from even GRNA. They are saying that some people have been posted from the south to the north. The person has started work for 2 months. Because the person is not on the payroll, you are telling the person to. And these are people who have even automatic employment.
Yeah.
These are 2020 batch. If you're even in 2021, you will never get through it because they use their index number to employ them. So I am begging on President Mahama. You came on the banner of giving a lot of jobs, especially the 3 shifts. Someone has employed a 1 shift. So just go on with your policies and add the 2 shifts so that at least Ghanaians will get some respite.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they're listening and they will listen to you. Let's get into the newspapers.
Are you still at the YEA?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
You're still there?
Yes.
Okay.
He's been seconded to the ministry.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember when we came in 2017, that was what happened. A lot of the all the top managers were sent to the ministry to work there.
Okay.
So
you've also been sent.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's get into the papers.
All right, let's start with the Ghanaian
Some of the stories will pop up and you get a bite,
Now, this one says, let's prioritize organic fertilizer in crop production. And that's according to Professor David Miller, president of Miller Open University. Prove your critics wrong. President Mahama urges reconstituted Council of State. Albert Jumfo says government GJA to meet over journalist safety. Ghana Health Service dedicate health desk at regional district hospitals to support persons with disability. But if you go to page 3, Gregory Afoko files for another bail application. Well, Gregory Afoko, the man accused of conspiring with Alangdi Asabke in 2015 to kill Adams Mahama, former Upper East Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, has filed another bail application before the Accra High Court. The application, filed on February 17, is the 3rd time the accused is praying the court to grant him bail in the course of the 9 years alleged criminal trial. On April 27, 2023, a jury returned a 4-3 verdict of not guilty against Afoko on the charges of conspiracy to commit murder and murder. Per the verdict, Afoko was to be retried as his alleged accomplice, Asabke, was handed sentenced to death by hanging by the court. Alangdi was to be sent to the gallows after a 7-member jury unanimously found him guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Well, this is where we are. This is the 3rd time he's applying for bail. The other time he was granted bail, right? Yeah. The last time they went to court, I think he was granted bail.
But they couldn't meet the
bail terms.
The bail terms, yes.
Okay, interesting. Really?
I don't think.
I remember at a point in time they couldn't
What were the bail terms that he could not meet? What were the bail terms? And I know that the Afoko family has the capacity to meet the bail terms.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I'm sure
he's from
there.
there.
His big brother is Paul Afoko.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big. And I call him a cousin too. He comes from my place and so on. I know the family very well. And I know that the Afoko family has the capacity to grant the bail in terms of even movable or immovable property, or even in terms of car, they have that. But you see, the issue of not granting bail is an issue that when the bail was granted and he was forcefully pushed back into prison up to that. I think it's unfair. And it happened under the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is a human rights lawyer. And I've seen a lot of lawyers talk about the fact that Gregory Afoko has been treated unfairly. He didn't put himself there. It was the state prosecutors that sent him there. You must adduce concrete evidence to ensure that the guy is guilty. And even granting him bail doesn't mean that he's been left off the hook. There could even be new evidence that will be unearthed later on to ensure that the guy is found. You can bring him back, but to continue to incarcerate him when the court of competent jurisdiction has granted him bail, I think it's unfair to Afoko Gregory himself and the family at large. Can you imagine the pain that the family has gone through, the resources they've gone through, getting lawyers to defend him? This is the first time, and these are the issues. When the new Attorney General goes through and sees that he has no case and he will grant him bail, then our brothers come and say, oh, you are filing nolle prosequi, you are granting bails and so on. But we all know that if the treatment that is given to the Afoko family is given to you today, you are not going to accept it and you feel that you have been unfairly treated. Once the man went before a competent court. Like he read this morning. Is it 2-3 against? I think the majority decision.
No, it was 4-3.
Fine. And if also,
according to the law, when it is 4-3 in a murder, that means it has to be retried. In a murder, it has to be unanimous for it to be.
So if the appeal process has not been done, and the guy, it's like you are showing brute strength, whether they like or not, we have to put him there. So and I think that the current Attorney General will look at it and then go in accordance with the law.
Well, in 2019, he was granted bail. He was admitted, not granted, admitted to a bail in the sum of 500,000 Ghana cedis with 2 sureties, one of whom must be justified. That's what the Daily Graphic Online reported. It says that as part of the bail conditions, the court, presided over by Mr. Justice George Bwedi, also ordered Afoko to report himself to the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service every 2 weeks. The bail was as a result of a bail application filed by Afoko's lawyers. So but if he was admitted to it, why is he still in
that is the
custody
issue that we've all been talking about. I've seen great lawyers on even your platform and other platforms who talked about unfair treatment, and I'm saying that it is now time, once they file this, and they'll go into the merits and demerits of the case and come out with appropriate. But I think that Gregory Afoko should be freed. He has suffered a lot, and for now, you cannot continue to hold him incarcerated when you haven't adduced fresh evidence against him. The evidence could come in future, but for now, let's go according to what the law says, and I pray that he should be granted bail. Granting bail doesn't mean that he's free of the hook, but at least he can get a chance to interact with the family.
It's also important we add that on January 28, 2019, the AG filed a nolle prosequi to discontinue the trial following the arrest of the other suspect. You know, Asagbi was on the run. Now, when they got him, the AG filed that one. But Afoko and Alangri were then put before the Accra Central District Court on provisional charges of conspiracy to commit murder and murder for committal proceedings, which are a prelude to the trial at the High Court. Anyway.
Yes, you see, I think it's long overdue. Looking at criminal jurisprudence, there is a case in the that was sent to the Supreme Court by lawyer Martin Kwebu, which says that now almost all the crimes are bailable. So, but you see, this is murder. And even though murder is bailable, but it is alleged that there were 2 people who committed the murder. Asapke was tried in absentia. Now, because they got Asapke, they felt that Asapke will be able to really speak to the issues very well. I think that's the reason they were still keeping him there, so that at least they listen, because they listened to him, after listening to him, 3 of the judges felt that he committed that murder. 4 said he didn't commit that murder. Now, his supposed accomplice is in, and they felt that if his accomplice is in, then he will now be able to speak to the matter, because the gentleman was only trialed in absentia and was sentenced to death by hanging. Now the gentleman is in, who can give fresh evidence and so on. But I think there is nothing wrong with granting him bail, even if he will be reporting at the police station every day or every 2 days, so that at least he gets some... suspects must be treated with some courtesies.
Okay, well, let me bring in that an Accra High Court, this is in July 15, or on July 15, 2019, says an Accra High Court has reversed a bail granted Gregory Afoko, one of the suspects being prosecuted over the murder of former Upper East Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Adams Mahama. Yes. The court had earlier in March 2019 granted the suspect bail to the tune of 500,000 cedis. Yeah. But the state ignored the court ruling and continued to hold the suspect in custody for about 3 months. So it means we're now being told the state did that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Now, the decision of the court follows an application made by the Attorney General, represented in court by Chief State Attorney Marina Appiah-Opare on Monday. According to Madam Appiah-Opare, Mr. Afoko will not show up for trial in court if the court does not rescind the bail granted him over 3 months ago by a different High Court judge. He says the application was opposed by lawyers for Mr. Afoko, who reminded the court that another High Court judge had assessed the fact of the matter and ruled that Mr. Afoko should be granted bail. So these are 2 separate courts here. Yes, yes. One granted bail, one I agreed with with the state that he had to be kept in custody. He said some of the cases related to a contempt ruling against the IGP and said it was slated for July, blah, 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 blah. So, look, the guy was granted bail. The state then decided to go against the court. How can the state do that?
Reversing that.
No, yes.
Yeah.
You see, well, as I said, you wouldn't know the thinking of the state. You understand, because this borders on national security, this borders on murder.
But it's also borders on rule of law, the law.
And human rights.
Is true.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. So that's why I'm saying that keeping him there will not serve any purpose to me, looking at the longer time the trial has taken. But one thing is for sure is that the person who is alleged to have been his accomplice has been arrested. So it means the person will speak. And they think that they will be able to really get some information from Asabke Alande, so that at least Asabke either confirm or deny whether he did the same thing with the man. And again, now he'll be listened to, because initially he was just sentenced when he was not there. He had to run away and he was arrested. Then now they have started a fresh trial. They said they did not give him this bail because they couldn't constitute the jury. Now, I'm sure by 5th March, when the jury is constituted, they will look into it and give him the bail.
Just by way of, okay, get a final.
I just wanted to say that I'm really not getting it. A high court grants someone a bail and another high court would undo the bail. I think it should have gone to an appeal court. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. Because how can one high court with the same powers grant bail and another court with the same powers also revoke the bail? It should have been an appeal process. I don't know what went in, and I cannot also comment so much. But I think that, like we were all discussing,
I think he was rearrested and sent to the other high court.
Following what? When the state...
Just after the bail, because I read that the family said it is not true that they couldn't meet the bail conditions. You know, it was the former Attorney General who said that.
And you see, if I want to hazard a guess and go beyond the discussion and try to unveil the veil covering this issue, you could directly link this particular case to his senior brother, Paul Afoko, who was one time national chairman of the MPP, but his chairmanship was removed by his differences with the president then. And I believe that it is a way to invariably send the pain to him as a result of that. And also, there was a political... That is what I'm saying, that I'm doing this. I'm trying to decode, you see, why a person who has been granted bail has been put there by the state. You cannot do that when you don't have the cohesive powers of the state. It is those powers that has enabled them to do that. And now the government that did that has been disabled now. They don't have power. And I think that the cause...
No, the state is doing the prosecution, not really any government.
Awal.
It's the state prosecutor.
The state is not a human being. It's a human being that does it.
But when you say the government is gone, as if it is some kind of persecution.
Well, we know government is a continuous, so
exactly.
there's one administration and then there's another.
Talking about. We all know.
Don't do propaganda.
It's not propaganda. That's what I'm saying. That we are trying to decode how a fellow who has been granted bail can be incarcerated for the past 80 years. Like you said and I said here, it doesn't mean that when you are granted the bail, you've been left off the book.
I agree.
You can always be brought back. That's why there's a surety and there's also a bail condition that you must meet before you are given. And like I told initially, the brother has the capacity to meet the bail, or the Afoko family has the capacity. I know the family very well. Any of them, including his brothers, leave Paul Afoko aside. The family has the capacity to stand surety in terms of cash and properties. They can do that. But I think the government ignored all this and said, look, the guy must go there because, you see, it involved the murder. While we are talking about these things, we are also not oblivious of the fact that someone's life got lost. A family is reeling under the pain of that, you understand? So we must be a little circumspect in our comments in terms of the granting of the pay, just opposing that with the family that are reeling under the pain.
Yeah, because if you go to Bolga, I even know the guy who died. In fact, the properties are still there.
That,
no one is even continuing the processes. The chairman who died.
His uncle in Sandoma. He's uncle in Sandoma. And he's I can call him his son because of the uncle. That's the way we did. Beyond that, I knew him long ago. I remember when I even came to Parliament, I called him. I called him because he was doing contract. Let me put this on record. He was doing contract. And there was the fear that when we took over power, we were going to cancel it. I called him and I assured him, Adams, he knows me, he knows my family. We sit together and so on. When it happened, it was devastating to all of us. Because knowing Adams who he is, he's quite a gentleman. He's open-minded guy to everybody and so on. It was unfortunate it happened. But you see, going by the law and what the law says, what we are all talking about this morning, we are not saying that Greg is guilty or not guilty, but the law says that free the guy for some time. Then you can always call him back.
But you see, there is a precedence in this country. But you see, someone was granted bail.
Gentlemen, we do have to, manage the time. There's so many stories we should get into. So
just to end, someone was granted bail in this country. The person jumped bail, and the person was sentenced in absentia, and the person is still there. Ghana couldn't even extricate the person. That's Sedenam Tamakulu. She was granted bail. Two people stood surety. They charged them and took the money from them, and she couldn't come back. They couldn't produce her.
Because
let's stay on the courts and law and all that, but on a different matter.
There's another
Mr.
one.
Kumi's case is very interesting. I saw a video of him leaving Parliament yesterday when the High Court issued a bench warrant for him. So this man,
what of the man who left?
There was an injunction. There was an interim injunction on him saying that don't go to Parliament to be sworn in on January 7th. He actually went and was sworn in. And during the entire time the court was hearing the case, he didn't appear before court. Yeah. And now
he's a member of Parliament.
But there was an interim injunction on you not to be sworn in. So the mistake was, why was he sworn in when there was an interim injunction on this man? And then Minority writes to the judge saying that he was busy with parliamentary business. First of all, you were not even supposed to be there in the first place. So that was the first mistake. Now, I saw the video of him leaving Parliament, and Kweku Asante tried to catch up with him, and I thought it was quite interesting. It was just hours after the bench warrant was issued, and we saw him leaving Parliament, packing his things and leaving. But what do you make of it? I mean, we know that the first mistake...
As in he's leaving the office?
I'm just looking at it now. No, just leaving the house, leaving a chamber.
Okay.
He was sneaking out. He wasn't leaving.
I'm trying not to use the word sneaking.
No, he sneaked out.
Did he?
Even he dodged the cameras.
Well. But the camera still caught him. I'm watching it right here.
Yes.
What did you make of it?
But won't he be protected by the parliamentary privileges, as you call it?
No.
That's why Afenyo Markin wrote to...
No. Afenyo Markin has been mischievous. You don't even need to be a lawyer. Parliamentary privileges goes with responsibilities. It doesn't mean that we should flout the judiciary orders, or the judiciary is an arm of government. Parliament is an arm of government, and the executive too. There's a need. That's why the issue of separation of powers, checks and balances is brought to the Constitution to ensure that they function independently in terms of function and personnel. So if you take your privileges that you are operating under and abuse the judiciary, they must exact the law that will punish you and serve as a deterrent to other members of Parliament. Well, we know in this country, when other members of Parliament were charged and they were asked to be going to the court daily basis. In fact, since I was born, that was the time I heard that people should be going to court daily basis. And they did. Ayarga and Co were sometimes, and Mama Ayarga, currently the majority, there was sometimes hauled before the court. Other members have hauled before the court. The court has jailed other members of Parliament too. So he's not above the law. And I think that Afenyo Markin, as an officer of the court and of Parliament, should be ensuring that respect to the state institution is upheld. It will be dangerous if we continue to use our positions as members of Parliament to thwart the smooth operation of the judiciary. When we do that, what lessons are we leaving for the young? Is it because we have power today and the minority say they are going to respond? Respond to what? The man should go to a court and respond because he's needed at the court. He's not needed at Parliament. Even the belligerents with which the minority exhibited and said the guy should be sworn in office and he will face the consequences therein. And if the consequences are coming, look, what he has done is serious. It's very serious. I remember in the case of Judge Kwesi, when the issues of the court were brought up, he was to be sworn in Parliament and take part in the voting. The minority went to the High Court, I think in the Central Region, got an injunction or so.
And he was sworn in.
Please listen. How was the injunction transmitted? Was it by drone? Did you use your drones to take the injunction? The court registrar brought it when the thing was around 6 a.m. to Parliament. That was where the issue, and they could not effect the serving. So Parliament took a key from it and said that its lawyers should receive the letter inviting him, what is the name? The injunction notice. And the clerk of Parliament was clear and unambiguous when he stated that if he's sworn in, he does it at the peril of his own life and at his duty, and Parliament has no hand. He said it publicly, and here we are today. The consequences of, if they don't exact the right punishment, it means that we are not going to respect the judiciary, and that when people have power and money, they can really bully their way through.
Right.
We've seen other people
let's hear all out.
Yes,
who just in mere contempt, even when you cough in the court proceeding, or you record, you can be charged for contempt.
Abenyo maintains that the way we are treating Mr. Kumi is very unfair.
Yes, you see, there is a precedence in this country. In the Judge case,
There's no
we
precedent.
secured an
You
injunction.
never served Parliament.
There was an injunction
You
which
didn't
was
serve
served.
Parliament.
Which was served. At a point in time, you were saying that the person who came was not the registrar and so on.
No,
that was the bone of contention,
No,
but it was
it
served.
didn't serve.
And
Okay,
even
we listen to you. Let's hear him out.
even
When
at the
you
swearing
shouldn't
in,
have
even at the
stated
swearing in, Afenyo Markin stood and said that he will face the consequences because there is an injunction. The NDC said yes, led by Haruna Idris, who said that yes, they are really ready to face the consequences of that. That wasn't really enforced, to be very honest. It was not enforced. But this one, they have enforced it. Don't forget that Ernest Kumi is a legitimate member of Parliament today.
No,
Is he?
Yes, he
That
is.
is the whole question we are asking.
No, but
He is.
once
There was an interim
sworn in,
He is.
until the court
But
overturned
it
it.
doesn't override the fact that there was an injunction
really,
that
you see
he
this
is
one,
to
the
pay.
The EC gazetted him. The EC will gazette you before you are even sworn in as member of Parliament. The EC will have to gazette you and present it to Parliament.
It's
He
not
was
legitimate, but
gazetted.
The case was before court. Is that not it?
No. I'm saying that he was gazetted by the
There was an
EC.
interim injunction.
Interim
on him.
injunction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They hadn't started hearing. so
I
you
am
can't say
saying
that
right
the
now
case-
that
okay,
he
go on.
is the substantive MP for Akwatia because he was gazetted, he
Right.
was sworn in as member of Parliament, and he was also continuing with his duties as member of Parliament, which was not objected by
by that
anyone.
time, the injunction
He
had
had contributed
No,
throughout
that's
the.
not correct. When you say it was not objected, the
I'm
case
telling
was
you,
being heard and he
throughout-
never showed up in court.
I'm saying that
because
in
according
Parliament-
to him, he was busy with Parliament
Yes,
duties.
Exactly. I'm saying that he
And yet he
contributed
didn't,
his quota to Parliament throughout his tenure for the last 1 month, and he has been vocal in Parliament and so on. And
It's not
nobody,
about vocal.
and
Everybody can be vocal.
and
You are
nobody
vocal.
prevented him from doing so. Now the minority is saying that we want to see the ruling so that at least we advise ourselves on it. Let's wait for the ruling, because what I know is that members of Parliament, as he is, have some immunities. I remember Felix, the MP for Kwame Danso, served with him together. At a point in time,
which of Felix?
Felix Chumasi
Chumasi
Akra.
Appiah.
Yes. At a point in time, some people accuse him of some business that went wrong, and they wanted to arrest him. They couldn't arrest him.
No, you know that one. You have to
No, they
write
couldn't arrest
Speaker
him.
of Parliament.
They said
You know the rules are there.
exactly.
Yeah. You
So
have
even
to
this
tell
one,
us that
even
want
this
to
one,
arrest him.
even this one, they can't just go
Never
and arrest him.
case.
Yeah,
They have to
but-
inform.
so this one, when it comes to arrest,
They can't arrest him even now.
When I'm
So
going
they
to
have to-
Parliament, they can't arrest me.
Yes.
You see, and in any case, if they need me before the court, they will write
They'll write to the Speaker.
for Speaker to release me officially.
Even this one is the Speaker who is supposed to release him because he's a member of Parliament.
So
There is
why
a
was he
contempt
speaking
case.
out?
No, you see, there is a contempt case. But why he went out, not sneaked out.
So which of them made him to stay? All of them is out.
I'm
Whether
saying that.
sneaked
I'm
or
saying
went
that.
out is out.
Is the
But your
Speaker.
point is that he sneaked out.
It's the Speaker who will have to release him for the court to really deal with him. But I am upbeat that after the minority has really been able to go through the ruling, will come out with a press conference to explain
I'm of
to
the
the
view
people
that
of
if
the
you've done
country.
nothing wrong,
And there will be an
there should be
appeal.
no reason
Yes.
for you to be worried. You know, he could
Yes,
have just shown up in court and this wouldn't get this far.
Honestly, but you see,
think that
he also has some
was
advice
no need
from his
to rush
lawyers.
into
He is
this
also guided by lawyers
loss,
and the
it's loss.
minority. So definitely, let's see how it goes. This is just a running story. This is just this is how it started, and the minority is saying that we're looking at the ruling and will also come up come back stronger with a statement to tell the people of this country if it's really selective justice. Because when in Jechikwesin, there was an injunction, but he continued and it was not enforced.
Parliament did not.
You know how we started and I said that we like to be politically correct, and when one person is, feeling the heat, we all, feel the fire. But when it's your turn, we find reasons to defend and point accusing fingers at the other person. It's just the game we play in this country. Let's move on to other stuff.
Well, local authorities need adequate financial support. Majority Leader says the Majority Leader in Parliament at Mahama Yarga has called for the provision of adequate financial and technical support for Assembly and Unit Committee members to enhance governance and accelerate development at the grassroots level. According to him, unit committee leaders in particular play crucial roles in gathering data and disseminating information within their constituencies, making it imperative for them to be well resourced. Mr. Ayarga made the call on the floor of Parliament in Accra yesterday during a discussion on strengthening of the country's local governance system. The Majority Leader stressed the need for better resourcing of Assembly and Unit Committee members. Well,
yes, in Accra or Kumasi, you may think that the unit committee is not very strong, but when you go to the villages, there is a community called Dagomba in the Sechura Plains district in Ashanti region, where I used to have my farm there. When you go there and there is an issue, because it's a cluster of communities that will have an assemblyman, the unit committee is very strong to the extent that they even pass judgment and so on.
Okay.
Yes. If they tell you that the unit committee chairman or member is inviting you, you will see people, they will be shivering. So I think that if you go to areas like that, these are areas that you don't get IGF. In Kumasi, Accra, and some few other municipal assemblies, they have a lot of internally generated funds. But when you go to constituencies or districts that are far away, and districts that do not have a lot of economic activities, like they are just farmers and some fishermen and so on, these are areas that when you look at the formula, the District Assembly Common Fund formula, usually you see the Municipal Assembly getting more money than them because of the amount of money they generate and so on. So if you check the formula, you see that they don't get a lot of them, a lot of money is there. So I believe that we should be deliberate in doing these things. I see sister collaboration between the cities, but can't we do it with the rural areas? Because this sister brings a lot of development. You get maybe New York City coming to KMA, bring a lot of development, roads and so on. Can't we substitute to these local areas so that they'll be able to get something? The payment of assemblyman, the stipends and so on, I think we should revisit it again and see how best we'll be able to really resource the assembly members so that there are areas, because I remember, I don't know, I know in our manifesto, we mentioned that when we come, we'll give common fund to the assembly members. I think it's rational because you see, there are assembly members who will be really, who will not get a lot of the development because he had issues with the DCE. The DCE will deprive the area with development because the gentleman did not support him when he came in, or he antagonizes him at meetings and so on. But if there is a common fund for the area, the electoral area, the unit committee members will gather the data and look at this area, we need KVIP. Then he will also write to the assembly, just like the MPs write to the assembly, so that he will write to the assembly that we need KVIP around this area, come and construct it for us with our common fund. I think this is very necessary. So if they can tap into what we, Dr. Baumia promised in the manifesto, that the assembly members, the electoral area should be given some common fund so that the unit committee members and the assembly members will get something to do development within their area.
So when he spoke about the popularity of the unit committee members, it reminded me of one senior of mine, Clement Mensah. He's a unit committee, I think, chairman or so for a place called Ejam. Ejam, Pompone, and another community. He says he was analyzing his popularity with the vote he got. That if you look at the vote,
and rightly so.
Yes, that's true.
If you look at the vote he polled, and he polled more than the assemblyman, it tells you how popular he is. every case that comes, he is the one who is called upon to try and
because assemblyman will be somewhere.
So,
yes.
So the thing is
Yeah.
and this is a good call coming from the majority leader. If and only if government will work with it, we'll see. But here's a former MP. He's been in the House before. How do we operationalize this?
Yeah, we can operationalize it. One, as we talked this morning, the Assembly Common Fund has been capped.
Yeah.
By the previous government. So even the full complement, they are not getting it.
But this government promised to uncap.
Yeah, we promised. We are yet to present the budget.
Yes, yeah.
Not just the common fund that we are going to uncap, other
NHIA.
Yes, we uncap them to
I think
Get fund.
YEA.
Yes, to enable the institutions have enough revenue to be able to take care of the challenges that confront them. Two, as we talked this morning, you would realize, like my brother said, most of these assemblies and municipal authorities do not have enough internally generated revenue. If you go to my municipal assembly, Bulsa North, what is actually there to let the people pay? It's just minimal. Someone is sending a guinea fowl to town, a woman is bringing dawa, then you take 2 seats. These are revenues that are even consumed by the overheads of the assemblies, especially the DC and his secretariat, in terms of fuel and other petty expenditure that they go through. Not just that, even with the common fund and other funds that are accruing to the assemblies are not timeously released.
Okay.
That is a major issue. Even though the money is inadequate, what is even there today do not get it when they need it most. By the time it will come, they would have accumulated debts. The debts will be such a way that they cannot even pay themselves out. So they continuously be in debt. So anytime it comes, the small revenue that comes, it swallows them up. Like if they ask a contractor to build a KVIP, a nursery, a small market, do patches here and there, they hold them in debt until they release the common fund. This is the source of funding. In bigger municipalities, like metropolitan municipalities and so on, like Tichima, they have a lot of revenue. Accra, Kumasi, where there are bigger markets and there are economic activities flying even through the 24-hour economy that we are talking about. They are able to mobilize enough fund, at least to meet what challenges. But like he said, the unit committee, they are the fulcrum around which our democracy and governance is formed.
Because they are with the people.
They are with the people. And when you get it right, you get everything right. Look, they do almost everything apart from changing a man to a woman. Yes. This cholera we are talking about, they advocate, they do advocacy.
They do a lot of work.
They do a lot of work. That was why in our manifesto we talked about giving a stipend to the assembly members and so on. We may have to, like he said, send it even to unit committee members because they do a lot.
If the entire electoral area gets it.
Yes. When someone is sick, they run to the assemblyman, the unit committee chairman. My child is dying. What can I do? I want me to send the fellow. The fellow would have to cough or something. Once this revenue are used judiciously, for the benefit of our people.
We have to go. I wish we had got a bite at this Cossack strike that starts today over the continued tenure of Samuel Adumboche, but 30 seconds, we should go. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And our guest this morning, yes, please. Timothy Awuntrim is former member of Parliament for Bilsa North, and Awal Mohammed is former head of communications for Youth Employment Agency, and they join us to review the newspapers this morning. Stay with Kojo and I because we'll be back right after sports served to you by Haruna Mbarak. Please stay.